Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners of the Book Talkies, or should I say viewers, because this episode is going to be on YouTube along with our other podcast platforms as well. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you have not done that already, please do that. Today's episode would be technical, I believe so, more on the medical and pharmaceutical side, but quite interesting as well. We have my dear old batchmate, schoolmate, Abe, Dr. Pathak, and he would be talking about one of his books that he has co-authored, and I'll ask him to share more about it. But before we get into knowing about his book, we would want to know more about him. So, Abe, Dr. Pathak, welcome to the Book Talkies.
So it's kind of a funny story. I think our family moved to India when I was 6 years old, and that was a challenge because I had the thickest American accent, and people could not understand me. And I remember as a child, once I got to learn how to write my name in the Hindi script, I wrote my name in that particular script on every examination papers and all of that. And then I got kind of yelled at because I wrote in English class my name in the script. Yeah, I got beat a lot in school, very much so. And they only tell you that, we expect great things from you. That's why we beat you. So that's their excuse. Fast forwarding now to the 10th grade, where everybody was surprised because I did very well in those exams, better than most that people would have thought. I even got what they call a distinction in Marathi, and that was my first ever one in my entire school career. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody was surprised on that one. But then moved back to Texas. Did high school there, played in the marching band, played rugby, which now has resulted in quite a few broken bones and long-term sequelae. Was in the astronomy club. Somehow I graduated and finished high school despite all the head injuries. Went to college, did a jump over to medical school, then worked in research, did fellowships, edited books, worked in the private sector for a little bit. Had all sorts of different experiences. Lived in China for a year, teaching in the medical school and learning Chinese medicine. And fortunately, I've had a very interesting and very great life. Quite a few close calls. Lost on a mountain once while having adventures in my Jeep. Been shot at a couple of times in a hospital scenario. Yeah, that was one time. It was funny because we had an event in one of the emergency OR type rooms, and I had called my mom because there was shooting happening, and my mom said duck, and then she hung up the phone. That was the best advice ever.
Wow.
Hide below something. Yeah, the Lost on the Mountain was fun too. There was a helicopter and mountain lions and rattlesnakes. Just interesting things.
Should we actually not discuss about the book and just discuss about this?
Well, I've been now told that I should kind of live just in a bubble.
Wow, that is some life, some sort of experiences you have there.
Oh, and there was scuba diving accident one time. So.
And this is just one lifetime you're talking about, or have you lived a few already?
It's funny you bring that up. I've just started another new life 4 months ago when I received an organ transplant, which was due to long-term COVID complications.
Oh, so, my God.
I got another life, it's a bonus. I'm in bonus time, man. We all did think it was going to end 4 months ago, but somehow we got out of that one. That's what the British would call a sticky wicket.
Yeah. But good to see you here and good to know that you are recovering well now. And I think
it was a team effort, man.
100%. Yeah. There's a lot which happens in the background, but then you yourself have to bring yourself to uh, the reality and sort of live through it and see yourself through it. That itself speaks a lot. So kudos to you. You've talked about a lot of things, but as Kaustubh said, right, we could not find too much about you, but then all we could find was books and books and books that you have authored, books around bioinformatics, books around nutraceuticals, and then gut health and artificial intelligence and how technology is impacting all of this and whatnot. So maybe just want to understand there is medicine, and then you're dealing with technology in medicine. So how does that sort of all come together? How has that sort of impacted your life?
Well, if you think about medicine, right, from a historical perspective, we covered nutrition in medicine, we covered hygiene, covered all sorts of different aspects that we don't really have time for in these days. Right? So technology is and has helped us get this far. 10 years ago, you could not have thought about a live heart transplant. But our hospital here, Tampa General Hospital, it's one of the best hospitals in the country, including for transplant, just did their first live heart transplantation very recently. And it is a level 1 trauma center, one of the best hospitals around, saved my life, owe them for that one. But every time we look at medical curriculum, every time you look at TV commercials for medicine, there's such a big evolution. And now that we've already discovered technology, it's happening exponentially. So it's not happening in phases. It's just growing. And now, we have medicines for diseases we didn't even think we knew about. Autoimmune diseases, complicated rare genetic diseases. We have treatments. We have lifestyle modifications for all of those. But also there is a big anchor. The big root of this goes back generations. So what we think of organic produce is what our ancestors used to eat as regular food. Right. So now a lot of times I ask people, how did your grandparents eat? Mm-hmm. So then, they used to get the vegetables from the garden, milk the cows in the morning, churn the butter at home, and then, all that. So they do know about all these things, but it's just convenient to go to McDonald's and go to the drive-thru and order a cheeseburger and fries and a Coke. Mm-hmm. And it's quite affordable, although the prices I think they have doubled in the last 5 years of fast food. So there's that. But mainly what I really think about and talk to patients and people about is, let's go back to the 1950s, because a lot of times people can't remember that time because they were kids. So that's when in this country, in America, we started mass producing food, right? Industrialization of food technology. And that's when we started sucking out nutrition from the food. So then things like pellagra happened, which is a deficiency of B vitamins. And there are the 4 Ds of pellagra: dementia, diarrhea, dermatitis, and then eventually death if it's not fixed early on. This is just something simple that you get from B vitamins, which are in milk mm-hmm. and some whole grains. And now, so we had to enact nutrition laws that every product that we consume has to have a minimum amount of such and such. So that's where we get into food additives and GMOs and things like that. So that's mm-hmm. in the last 50 to 75 years. And then now, we think about all the new increased prevalence of diseases, and not just incidence, but prevalence, which is, diseases that are already in an existing population. Mm-hmm. You can attribute that going back to 75 years, increased diabetes, increased high blood pressure, increased cholesterol, increased autoimmune. So all that really just goes to the nutrition, which ties into the book. Because now we're discovering that a lot of disease processes have a commonality, which is inflammation. So, we've heard of anti-inflammatory diets, turmeric and things like that as a big player. But also intestinal flora is very important. And what we're trying to figure out scientifically is blue zones. I don't know if you guys are familiar with blue zones.
No, I'm not.
So blue zones, it's actually a very interesting area. It's probably worth looking into. It's the areas of the world that have populations with the longest age spans, longest lifespans.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah. Huh.
So
So I
people
think
are trying to figure out.
the book Ikigai. I don't know if you know. It's
Yeah,
yeah. So it's about studying the lives of a place in Japan. I forgot that city's name.
yeah,
Where Hector Garcia, who's the author, he goes and studies them and talks to those centenarians. I
yeah.
mean, yeah. So that's what it's called, blue zones. Okay, understood. Okay.
So people have tried to replicate those blue zones, right? Again, what research has shown is there are different components. Diet and nutrition. Now we look at blue zones, there's some in the Mediterranean, in Italy, some in Japan, and what they have in common is a lot of fermented foods. Fermented foods are typically some things that we know as probiotics.
Right.
Like if you had not thought about this previously, yogurt is a fermented food. We love yogurt in our Indian diet. Right? It's almost in every meal. So that is fermentation, right? You boil the milk and you let it just pretty much the bacteria do the thing. So in Japanese cuisine, there's soy sauce is fermented, feta cheese fermented. So all these things, if you really just look at it, it's simple nutrition. I mean, you don't really even need a scientific mind. You just have to have basic understanding. Basically fermentation is a process when things go bad, but bad in a very good way. So that supports your intestinal flora, right? That's probiotics. And now the other side to that is everybody wants to take antibiotics, right? You get a cold. What do? You go to the pharmacy, you get some amoxicillin. Now, we have overused antibiotics to the point where you have destroyed some of the natural beneficial bacteria and let the bad bacteria take over. So that's where, we lead into the book. So one of our research theories was, does gut bacteria have any association with increased anxiety? We have.
You know what? Let me hold you there, Abe. We still haven't actually called out the name of the book, and you have already subtly, smoothly explained how simple the science behind your book is. So the name of the book, just so that we need to call that out. The name of the book is Anxiety, Gut Microbiome, and Nutraceuticals, which is you along with two doctors have co-authored this. Yeah.
Also, my father. Yeah. So Dr. Abe Pathak is my father.
Oh, smooth.
He's a pharmacist. Okay. So we've done 5 books together, and it's so much fun, to work with your family. Never would you have thought that you would be growing up and working with your father on a book, or working on the same floor in a university campus, just different departments.
What a fascinating story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We did save gas. We used to carpool to work.
You did. Okay, please go on.
Yeah, so that's not just one aspect, right? So again, if you're able to control the probiotics in your food, then that's one less thing to worry about. I would like to refer to the first book I ever did, which is about preventive and healthcare applications with nutraceuticals, right? So that also ties into what chronic lifestyle diseases are. So we can manage a lot of these things, our day-to-day diseases like lowering blood sugar can be done with probiotics, fermented foods. And these are not scientific realizations. These are just recipes that we've derived from history, what people used to do back in the day. And now we just need to have it where if it's a medical profession who recommends it, then it must be the golden goose, as opposed to what people have been doing for generations. So that's not empirical evidence enough. We need something like a factoid, a number that we can read. And that's kind of why there's a lot of research now, because there's a lot of good value in these traditional systems of medicine. But the other side of that also is that, they take longer. So people expect overnight results, what we call as instantaneous gratification. And it's very common, right? You do the app, you guys are in technology. What are the apps nowadays they're designed for, right? Instant food. I feel hungry, Grubhub. Postmates, Uber Eats. Oh, I need booze delivered. There's an app for that. I need to rent a car. App for that. I need to go to airport. App for that. I mean, there's all sorts of different apps for everything. Which sometimes, you should just think, eat some mushrooms. A lot of food, and I like to refer to Chinese medicine in specific because I'm a big fan of Chinese medicine, right? A lot of their food is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
So now they found out through years of experience and experimenting on people that seasonal variation in food helps to fight certain diseases that time of year. So now when it comes down to fall and winter season, you cannot have tropical fruit. You cannot have summer fruit because A, it's not going to give you the amount of nutrition that it gets in peak season. And B, it's not going to taste as good either. So you can't have watermelon year round. Watermelon is a summer food because it helps you from dehydration, right? In summer, what do we have? Dehydration.
Right.
So it has potassium, vitamin C, and quite a few other nutrients, and it is rich in hydration. So that's why you eat watermelon in the summer out in the sun after a long afternoon. So these are things we know, but we need somebody with an MD or a PhD at the end of their name to tell us to do these, which is, again, going down to common sense, which is why explanation of medicine is very easy if you think about it. Make it as complicated as you want to. But who's gonna go and look up what you mentioned in your 5 minutes that you have with the patient? If you do that, this enzyme, this, that, who's gonna pay attention to that? But if you tell somebody that your blood vessels are like a garden hose, everybody uses a garden hose. So if you put a rock on a garden hose, that is narrowing your blood vessel, and then you're not getting enough water coming out the other. Now, you guys, let's use you guys as a patient, right? You guys are tech guys, work all hours, mostly sitting in the chair. Am I correct here?
I stand.
You're not walking around.
No.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, that was the reason, because I knew it wasn't helping, especially during COVID times. No.
Yeah.
So I stand and work.
I do more like a mix of it. Fortunately, I have a standing desk, so it's like 1 hour sitting, 1 hour standing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but Anirudh, I mean, we are not representing the true IT.
That's possible. Okay, fair enough. All right.
But I know where Abe is getting at. Yeah.
Well, even by standing, you're not really burning calories that much. That kind of goes into your myth, make yourself feel good. I'd like to insult the Toyota Prius here for a moment. It's one of those feel good things. You drive a Prius, you feel good. It's not really doing anything for the environment. It's one of those things. But it's, you guys are sitting most of the time, or sedentary, because even when you stand, you're not really moving around. So you're just doing this while standing, as opposed to sitting. So now, are you burning calories?
I assume so. No.
You are, but not as much as you would if you were walking. So then in that equation, what has to change? So if you're not burning as many calories and you're still eating the same amount of calories,
okay,
you have a mathematical dilemma, right?
Right. You're right. Yes.
And I can explain that to you like I would explain a 4-year-old. If you
do.
eat this much and you only poop out this much, then you have a mathematical dilemma. But that's simple, right? So that's kind of where you would want to be changing what you eat. So you would want less calorie foods, but still packed with nutrients.
True.
Your fruits, they have good sugar. We're not saying that sugar is bad, but you cannot have 10 candy bars in one day. You can have 1 or 2 if you want. But average lifestyle-wise, now most people have jobs which require them to sit for multiple hours, right? Even academia, if you work in the IT industry, human resources, whatever, name any field that you want. Majority, we have jobs where people sit down and not move around as much. So then we'd have to change the food that we eat. You guys remember the expression, right? Eat breakfast like a king, eat lunch like a common person, and eat dinner like a peasant.
Yeah.
What we're doing is the opposite. You have a protein bar for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and then a heavy dinner.
Yeah.
So what happens to all that excess nutrition that you're having, excess carbohydrates, excess fats, excess protein? It gets turned all into fat because your body will convert glucose to glycogen, which is stored in your muscles and your liver, because that's the immediate rainy day source of energy. Then after you reach max capacity of glycogen, then that starts turning into fat because your body can hold and store so much glycogen. So now that's turning into fat. Some goes into your bloodstream. So that's why we have hyperglycemia. Same thing with the protein. We use the example of bodybuilders. You know, they eat a lot of protein. So they're muscular, but they still have a tummy. Because extra protein also gets converted to fat. And this is basic biochemistry.
How can an individual improve their gut health? And any recommendations from your side?
Absolutely. Most commonly, yogurt. There are so many different probiotic yogurts out there. Right? You can have yogurt daily. It's as simple as that. You can take a probiotic supplement. So now we have done so much research that we have and are familiar with all the different strains of the probiotic bacteria that you need. So there are different supplements out there you can readily get on Amazon that you can take once daily or twice daily as recommended. You can eat fermented foods, soy sauce, like pickles, pickled vegetables, also rich in probiotics. You can drink kombucha. Are you familiar with kombucha?
Are you talking, I know pickled vegetables, but are you talking about the pickles that we have in Indian families? That?
You can use that, yeah, because mustard seed and all that. You know, pickles are fermented, even those, right? You let the spice ferment. Same thing with if you're familiar with Korean food, kimchi. Why do they eat a lot of kimchi? Probiotic. So I mean, it's really just nutritional. It's dietary. And when it comes to that, I'd like to touch on a point where people have these fad diets.
Yeah. My family has gone through that. My family has gone through that. Yeah.
And I mean, it works. Yeah, it'll get the weight off. But the key to diet is consistency. You want to be doing something habitually. And the reason it takes a long time is so that once you actually do it and maintain, then the weight stays off. But with probiotics, I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. Some you take with food, some you don't. And, another way to do is reduce the amount of antibiotics you take. So now let's say you have a cold, a cough, sore throat. An easy thing that we can do with a readily available household ingredients is a tea. You take turmeric, you take black pepper, honey, grated fresh ginger, lemon, and hot water and put it in a big thermos, and you just sip on it all day. Now, we say black pepper because turmeric has a compound called curcumin. Curcumin is, in terms of bioavailability, is not directly absorbed by your body. So you can just eat turmeric. It's not going to do anything. But when you observe, when we cook Indian food, you put turmeric in oil, right? And then you heat it. So that activates the curcumin molecule for you to be able to digest it. Same thing with milk. You put turmeric in milk, right? Before you go to bed and you drink that. It's activated by fat. It's activated by heat. It's activated by black pepper. So that's why you have to have that combination. People who just eat simply turmeric for health, you may not necessarily get the benefits. You could even make a turmeric root pickle, which is very delicious. So you know how you make the mango pickle? You just get turmeric root and you cut it in julienne, like those long thin slices, julienne it, and just make a pickle of that. I mean, that's the simplest, cheapest way to get probiotics. And turmeric, it's overall good for your health.
That's what we call as your nutraceuticals. I mean, I think when I research the word, that's the food. Nutraceuticals is actually the food.
Well, if I turn that turmeric pickle and put the extract of it into a capsule, then it becomes a nutraceutical. So it's a nutrition and a pharmaceutical. You combine them. That's what nutraceutical is in essence. So I mean, there's just so many things you can do simply in your day-to-day life. The ancient cultures, right? Egyptians used to eat yogurt. There's kefir. It's a dairy product from Turkey. They eat yogurt. China, they don't have a lot of lactose heavy products, but they do have yogurt. It comes in tiny, cute little bottles with a straw and you drink it. It's probiotics. Soy sauce, probiotic. Sauerkraut, probiotic. So you live in Germany. You must be familiar with sauerkraut. And it's
Yes.
it's that time of year, it's Oktoberfest.
Right, yes.
So now to balance the Oktoberfest, they have the sauerkraut.
Right.
It's always good to remember, do not do anything in excesses nutritionally. Don't excessively starve yourself. Don't excessively eat food too much. Don't just eat all fried food. Have a balance.
True.
And we can talk about just food in one episode, how food is medically beneficial for you, because it's really all just simple things that that you did, that you have done in the past, but at a cost of convenience, you're not doing those things.
Abe, this has been, first of all, connecting back with you is super cool. So thanks for accepting our invitation to be on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. You put such a complex topic in such a simple flow. Thank you for doing that. And the way we know your life has been, it has been quite an awesome journey.
Yeah.
Continue doing that. And through you, we would want to thank all the medical professional staff, doctors, pharmacists, the support staff, a heart full of gratitude for during the COVID times. So thank you very much.
I will let them know at our next big meeting.